If this video has found its way to you, it is not by accident. Something within you has been shifting, quietly reorganizing itself beneath the surface of your awareness. And in this moment, as these words reach you, your old frequency, the vibration you've been carrying for years, perhaps lifetimes, has just started to collapse, not because something is wrong, but because something is finally ready to be released. In the quantum field, where every thought, every emotion, every moment of awareness generates a signal, you are not the same person who began searching for answers. You have been transmitting a new frequency, a signal so subtle you may not have recognized it, but the universe and what you're about to understand will confirm what your deepest self already knows. You are no longer vibrating at the level of who you used to be. The question is not whether you're ready. The question is, can you feel it happening right now? Most people live their entire lives unaware that they are broadcasting every second of existence. Your consciousness emits a frequency into the quantum field, a silent transmission that shapes everything you experience. Your thoughts are not private, your emotions are not contained. They radiate outward, electromagnetic waves touching everything within your field, creating interference patterns with the reality around you. And for years, perhaps decades, you have been transmitting the same signal, the frequency of lack, the vibration of not enough, the electromagnetic signature of someone still searching, still proving, still trying to become. That frequency has organized your entire reality, your relationships, your circumstances, your sense of self. It has been the invisible architecture of your life, but something has changed. You may not be able to name it yet. You might only feel it as a restlessness, a quiet dissatisfaction with patterns that once felt normal, old reactions that no longer fit, conversations that suddenly feel empty, relationships that seem to be vibrating at a frequency you can no longer match. You are not losing your mind, you are losing your old frequency. In the quantum world, frequency determines reality. When an electron shifts from one energy level to another, it does not gradually transition, it quantum leaps. One moment it exists in one state, the next moment it has collapsed into another. There is no in-between, and that is what is happening to you now. Whether you recognize it or not, your old frequency, the one built on fear, on seeking validation, on believing you had to earn your place in the world, is destabilizing. The coherent wave pattern you have been emitting for so long is beginning to show interference, not because you are doing something wrong, but because you have reached a saturation point. The energy can no longer sustain itself at that level. Think of it like this. When you heat water, it remains liquid, even as the temperature rises. But when it reaches a certain threshold, the entire structure collapses into steam. The molecules do not gradually transform. They reach a tipping point, and then everything changes at once. That is the moment you are in now. You have been heating, you have been building pressure, you have been absorbing frequency after frequency, insight after insight, moment of awareness after moment of awareness. And now, the old structure, the old you, cannot hold. It is not a failure. It is physics. The quantum field is never static. It is always in motion, always responsive, always reflecting back the frequency of the observer. And for years you have been observing yourself through the lens of lack, through the filter of not yet, through the vibration of one day. But recently, something shifted in your observation. You stopped looking at yourself as broken. You stopped seeing your life as something that needed to be fixed. And in that moment of release, You change the frequency of your observation, and when the observer changes, the entire field responds. Let me explain what is actually happening to you right now, not as metaphor but as mechanism. In quantum physics, there is a principle called wave function collapse. Before observation, particles exist in a state of superposition, all possibilities existing simultaneously. But the moment an observer directs attention toward the system, the wave function collapses into a single reality. The act of observation does not passively witness, it actively participates in creating what becomes real. Your consciousness operates the same way. Every moment you are the observer of your own existence, and the quality of your observation, the frequency of your attention, determines which possibility collapses into your lived experience. When you observe yourself through fear, through doubt, through the lens of unworthiness, you collapse a reality that mirrors that frequency. The quantum field does not judge your observation, it simply matches it. But when your observation shifts, when the frequency of your attention changes, the field must respond. It has no choice. Energy always moves toward coherence, toward resonance, toward equilibrium. And if you are no longer emitting the frequency of lack, the field cannot continue to reflect lack back to you. This is not manifestation in the way most people understand it. This is not about visualizing what you want or repeating affirmations until you believe them. This is about the fundamental mechanism of consciousness interacting with the quantum field. When your inner frequency changes, your outer reality must reorganize itself to match, not eventually, not someday, immediately. The delay you perceive is not the universe being slow, it is the residual momentum of the old frequency still echoing through the field. Like turning off a radio, the sound does not stop instantly, it fades, the signal dissipates, and as it does, the new frequency begins to emerge. That is what you are experiencing now. The old broadcast is fading, the static is increasing, because two frequencies are overlapping, the old one dying, the new one being born. You are standing in the interference pattern between who you were and who you are becoming, and it feels disorienting because you are no longer solid in either state. Your nervous system knows this, even if your mind does not yet understand. Your body is already responding. You may notice that certain environments now feel intolerable. People you once felt comfortable around now create a subtle tension. You cannot. Activities that used to distract you now feel meaningless. This is not depression, this is frequency mismatch. You are vibrating at a level that no longer resonates with the world you built around your old self. And as painful as that can feel, it is the most precise confirmation that the collapse has begun. Because if you were still vibrating at the old frequency, everything would still feel normal. The fact that it does not, that is your evidence. In quantum mechanics, when a system reaches a state of critical instability, it does not return to its previous equilibrium, it reorganizes into a new structure entirely. Scientists call this a phase transition. Ice does not become cold water, it becomes a completely different molecular arrangement, and you are in that transition now. Your old frequency is not gradually improving, it is dissolving, and what is emerging is not a better version of the same pattern, it is a fundamentally different way of being, a new electromagnetic signature, a new broadcast, a new you. And here is the most important part. You cannot force this process, you cannot speed it up through effort or willpower. The collapse happens on its own timeline, according to the laws of energy, not the demands of the ego. All you can do is stop interfering, stop trying to hold on to the old structure, stop resisting the discomfort of the in-between, because the moment you release your grip, the moment you stop trying to control the collapse, the new frequency stabilizes, and when it does, reality snaps into alignment, so fast, it will take your breath away.
So what do you do when you find yourself in this space between frequencies? When the old has begun to collapse, but the new has not yet fully formed, you do nothing. And that might be the hardest instruction you've ever received, because your entire life you have been trained to believe that transformation requires action, that change happens through effort, that if you want something different, you must do something to make it happen. But in the quantum field, force creates resistance. Effort generates interference. The more you try to control the collapse, the more you stabilize the very frequency you're trying to leave behind. Think about it. When you try to force yourself to feel different, what are you actually doing? You are observing yourself from the frequency of not yet good enough. You are broadcasting the signal I am broken and need fixing, and the field, which only responds to the frequency of your observation, mirrors that signal back to you. You create more of what you're trying to escape. But when you simply allow the collapse to happen, without interference, when you witness the discomfort, the uncertainty, the dissolving of everything you thought you were, without trying to fix it, or speed it up, or make it more comfortable, something extraordinary happens. The new frequency stabilizes on its own. It is like falling asleep. You cannot force it. The moment you try, you create tension, and tension is the opposite of the state you're trying to reach. But when you stop trying, when you simply lie there and allow your nervous system to do what it knows how to do, sleep comes naturally. Presence works the same way. The new frequency emerges not through effort, but through surrender. And surrender does not mean giving up. It means releasing the illusion that you were ever in control. It means recognizing that the quantum field is not something you manipulate, it is something you align with, and alignment happens the moment you stop resisting what is. Right now you may feel like you're losing yourself, like the person you thought you were is dissolving, and that's because it is. But you are not losing yourself, you are losing the frequency that was never truly you to begin with. You are shedding the electromagnetic signature that was built from fear, from conditioning, from the need to be seen and validated and accepted. What remains when that frequency collapses is not emptiness, it is essence, the pure signal beneath all the the consciousness that has always been there, broadcasting, but was obscured by layers of interference. And here is what most people miss. They think transformation is about becoming someone new, but quantum collapse is not about addition, it is about subtraction. It is not about building a better self, it is about dissolving the false self, so that what was always true can finally be seen. When ice melts, it does not become something other than water, it reveals what it always was beneath the structure, and you are melting now. The rigid form you held for so long, the identity you defended, the story you told yourself about who you are, is softening, and as it does, you are returning to your natural state, fluid, formless, free. This is not a leap into something foreign, but a return to what you have always been beneath the frequency of fear, and others will feel it before you fully recognize it yourself, because energy does not lie. When your frequency changes, the field around you reorganizes. People who were once drawn to you may suddenly pull away, not because you did anything wrong, but because they were resonating with the old signal, and that signal is no longer there. They cannot attune to what no longer exists. At the same time, new people, new opportunities, new synchronicities will begin to appear, not because you manifested them, but because the field is always seeking equilibrium. When you change frequency, reality must reorganize itself around the new signal. It has no choice. Energy always moves toward resonance. You will notice this in small ways at first. A conversation that flows with unexpected ease. A stranger who said exactly what you needed to hear. A door that opens just as you were ready to walk through it. These are not coincidences. These are confirmation. The field is responding to your new broadcast, and as the new frequency stabilizes, as you settle into this unfamiliar state of being, you will begin to realize something profound. You were never trying to become someone. You were only trying to remember what you forgot. And now, the remembering is complete.
Living from this new frequency is not about maintaining a state. It is about recognizing that the state was always there, waiting for the interference to dissolve. You do not need to practice presence. You need to stop practicing absence. You do not need to cultivate peace. You need to stop generating chaos. The natural state of consciousness, when left undisturbed by fear and resistance, is coherence. It is stillness. It is alignment with the quantum field itself. And from that place, everything changes. Not because you are doing anything differently, but because you are being differently. Your presence becomes the message. Your energy becomes the teaching. Others do not need to hear your words. They feel your frequency the moment you enter the room. This is the power of a collapsed frequency. When the old vibration dissolves, what remains is a signal so pure, so coherent, that it acts as a tuning fork for everyone around you. People begin to recalibrate in your presence without knowing why. Their nervous systems sync with yours, their breath slows, their minds quiet. They feel safe to drop the performance, to stop trying, to simply be. And you do not do this to them. You are not healing anyone. You are simply no longer adding interference to the field. Your lack of resistance creates space. Your lack of need creates openness. And in that openness, others remember what they forgot as well. This is how transformation ripples outward, not through teaching or convincing or inspiring, but through resonance. When one frequency stabilizes at a higher coherence, it affects every frequency it touches. Quantum entanglement is not just a physics concept, it is the mechanism through which consciousness awakens itself. You are not separate from the people you meet. You are not separate from the reality you experience. At the quantum level, all consciousness is interconnected through the same field of information, and when your signal changes, the entire field feels it, not metaphorically, literally. Every interaction becomes an act of transmission. Every moment of presence becomes a catalyst, not because you intend it, but because coherence is magnetic. People are drawn to what they unconsciously recognize as truth, and truth is simply the frequency of alignment. When inner state matches outer expression, when thought and emotion and action move as one, you will find that life becomes effortless in ways that used to require force. Doors open without you pushing, conversations unfold without you controlling, opportunities arrive without you chasing. This is not luck. This is the natural response of the field to a coherent signal. The quantum field does not reward effort, it rewards alignment, and alignment is not something you achieve, it is something you stop disrupting. From this place, your presence becomes your power, not the presence you perform, but the presence you are, not the energy you project, but the energy you embody. And others remember you not for what you said or did, but for how they felt when they were near you. They felt seen, they felt safe, they felt permission to stop pretending. That is the gift of a collapsed frequency. You become the space where others can finally rest, not because you offer comfort, but because you no longer demand anything from them. Your energy carries no expectation, no judgment, no hidden agenda, and in that purity they experience something rare in this world: acceptance without condition. This is not a technique, this is not a practice, this is the natural consequence of living from a frequency that no longer needs to prove itself, protect itself, or perform itself. When you stop broadcasting the signal of lack, you naturally begin to radiate the frequency of wholeness, and wholeness does not attract, it magnetizes. You do not need to announce your transformation, you do not need to explain what has shifted. Those who are ready to see it will feel it immediately, those who are not will drift away without conflict, and both are perfect, because the field is always organizing itself around resonance, around harmony, around truth. Your only task now is to remain in alignment, not to force it, but to notice when you drift, not to perfect it, but to recognize when old patterns try to reassert themselves, and when they do, and they will because the nervous system has muscle memory, you simply return, you notice the interference, you release the resistance, you allow the frequency to stabilize again. This is not a one-time event, it is a continuous recalibration, but each time you return, it becomes easier. Each time you release, the old frequency has less power, until one day you realize you are no longer collapsing the old, you are simply living the new, and from that place you understand what you could not have understood before. You were never broken, you were never lacking, you were only broadcasting a signal that reflected a story you believed about yourself, and the moment you stopped believing it, the signal changed, and the moment the signal changed, reality had no choice but to follow.
If this video found you, it is because somewhere within the infinite field of consciousness, your signal reached a threshold, a tipping point, a quantum moment where the old frequency could no longer sustain itself. And in this moment, as you sit here, as these words wash over you, the collapse is not coming. It has already begun. You are already different than you were when this video started, not because I told you anything you didn't already know, but because you are ready to remember what you forgot. The universe does not send messages to those who are not ready to receive them. The field does not activate frequencies that have not reached critical mass. And if you have felt something shift inside you as you've listened, if you've felt a strange recognition, a quiet knowing, a sense that something you cannot name is finally coming into focus, that is not inspiration, that is confirmation. Your old frequency is collapsing, and what is emerging is not a new version of you. It is the version that has always existed beneath the interference, the signal that was always broadcasting, but was drowned out by the noise of fear, of doubt, of trying to be enough. You are enough, you have always been enough, and now, finally, your energy is beginning to reflect that truth. From this moment forward, you will notice the world responding differently to you, not because you changed your behavior, but because you changed your not because you became someone new, but because you stopped pretending to be someone you never were. And as you move through your life, through conversations, through relationships, through moments of stillness and chaos, you will carry this new frequency with you. It will radiate from you effortlessly. It will touch everyone you meet, whether they recognize it or not. It will leave an imprint on the field that continues to ripple long after you are gone. Because that is what presence does. It does not announce itself. It does not demand recognition. It simply exists, and in its existence, it transforms everything it touches. You are not here by accident. This moment is not random. The collapse has begun, and what emerges on the other side will be a frequency so aligned with truth that the universe itself will have no choice but to reflect it back to you in ways you cannot yet imagine. Welcome to the other side of the threshold. You have already crossed it. Now, all that remains is to live.